Looks like the circus is in town.
Tony Zucco, within the 2004 The Batman universe, started out as a knife-throwing circus performer along with his father, until one night, while performing, Tony misses and hits his father with the knife, putting an end to not only his father's life, but also to Tony's life as a regular citizen. Tony and the rest of his brothers ended up becoming a mob of sorts, and they would run a protection racket on any circus that would come into town. Tony would not only be the leader of the group, but he would also be the sadistic and heartless one of the group. However, the other brothers are still no saints by any means. The reason why Tony is the leader is because he's the most evil and the most willing to do whatever it takes in order to obtain whatever it is that he desires. And the things he desires most is violence and money. We see just how evil Tony can be whenever the Flying Graysons come into town. Upon the Graysons' arrival, Tony greets them with a proposal. After Tony offers his family's protection, John Grayson rejects said offer, which results in the Zucco brothers trashing the tent. During the scuffle, Dick Grayson calls the police and the call is intercepted by Batman. A fight then breaks out between Batman and Tony's brother, the Lion Tamer, where the Lion Tamer gets defeated by Batman and taken into custody. This upsets Tony greatly, so much so that Tony and his brothers would come back to the Graysons' tent on opening night, where Tony would tamper with the swings by removing the nuts from them, which would ultimately kill Dick Grayson's parents. This moment, along with what he says after they fall,
I think the Flying Graysons might have to change their name,
really shows us just how evil, violent, and twisted this man truly is. He lacks reasoning, sympathy, empathy, and so much more. Even though Tony killed Dick Grayson's parents for his brother, it's hard to tell if he actually has any regard for them. He talks about family meaning everything to him, but seeing as he killed his own father, which, even if that was an accident, it likely warped his mind, causing him to have a sick perspective on things. Family only means everything during certain situations, and the Graysons rejecting their offer and their son getting the police involved made this situation fall right into that category. It only means everything when he wants and/or needs to place his violent behavior onto somebody. Any moment that causes Tony's sick mind to question itself is a moment that requires immediate violence from him. He's truly just a depraved and twisted shell of the man he once was. Later in the episode, Batman tracks Tony down, but Tony gets the upper hand. He then straps Batman to the Wheel of Death and begins explaining his past, which is where we learn that Tony killed his own father. He then attempts to kill Batman, but Dick Grayson, now in the guise of Robin, just without the name, saves Batman from the knife. Robin and Tony then begin fighting, where Tony gains the upper hand. When Tony is about to kill Robin, Batman breaks free and unleashes his anger onto Tony. Tony then climbs a ladder, and when Batman appears behind him, he falls off the tall structure, seemingly to his death. However, Robin would swing in and grab Tony before he hits the ground, ultimately saving the very man that killed his parents from the same fate that they died to. Tony is then taken into custody, and this would be the last time we would see him and his brothers within this show. Tony Zucco is an overly violent and greedy man who let his need for violence win at every turn in life. As I said earlier, it's unclear if Tony killed his father on purpose, but even if not, that action alone altered his mind greatly, creating the sick individual we see before us. That night when he missed was the same night that the need for violence was born within him, and it created a sick and evil desire. Another thing to note is that whenever Tony hands the popcorn bucket over to his brothers see the nuts for the swings in the bucket and they looked concerned. But Tony looks happy, which goes to show that he truly takes pleasure in doing what he does. As I said earlier, Tony and his brothers would never appear within the show again, nor would they appear within the comics. However, Tony's episode is actually one of the more important ones, as this episode doesn't just give us the birth of Robin, but it also gives us quick growth for his character. Instead of letting the man who killed his family die, Robin saves him, which shows us that Dick isn't as fueled by anger as Bruce is, as well as showing us that he's already on board with the no killing rule. The episode also shows us just how evil some of the more normal criminals within Gotham are. Tony Zucco is a great example of how violent Gotham can be even outside of your major villains. But moving off of his personality and psychology for a moment, one of the most amazing things about this episode is that Mark Hamill voices Tony Zucco and Kevin Conroy voices John Grayson. Rest in peace, you legend. You'll forever be missed, Kevin Conroy. Their inclusion in this episode was such a sweet and amazing touch. I absolutely love that they got an episode where they could work together and play different characters. It's just a nice thing to see in my opinion. But with all that said, this has been the terribly twisted life of Tony Zucco. If you made it this far into the video, comment down any interesting facts that you know about Tony Zucco. I always love to learn new things from y'all. Also, let me know if y'all think Tony killed his father on purpose or not. Personally, a part of me feels like he did do it on purpose, simply for the sake of gaining control over the family. But let me know what y'all think. With all that said though, it's been ugly, and I'll see y'all in the next one.